Everybody, and welcome to Psychopinion. Tonight we have a show topic that I have always rather enjoyed, but is also something that a lot of people fear, and that is clowns. We're going to get a little bit into the history, we're going to get into some of the movies, um, and just some interesting facts, talk about some things here. Before we get started, I did want to remind everybody we are on both YouTube and Spotify now. And Rob is not with us tonight, as you can see, or as you will hear if you continue to listen. So, unfortunately, I can't promise him to do any weird shit for you if you give us 100 follows or likes. But I promise you it'll get better as we go. Anyway, go ahead and watch the old episodes. I'm still putting up some original YouTube episodes on Spotify. I hope you guys enjoyed the last one, as Meet the Warrens Part 1. And if you check those out, they're pretty cool. We really kind of deep dive into all of the movies that involve the Warrens, Amityville Horror and, of course, like The Nun and all of those movies. I think they're personally really good episodes. And we talk about a lot of the facts, kind of the difference between the reality and the movie, because there was really a lot of, it was one of those situations where based on true events was very, 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 very fucking far fetched in a lot of cases. So check that out. It's awesome. And I'm going to be posting part two with this one here. So as you hear this, you should be able to check that out. Anyway, so we have Jen and Steve. And how are you guys? Say hello to the people.
Pretty good.
Doing well, doing well.
Good, good. So, clowns. I fucking love them. Not everybody does. So I'm going to go ahead and kick us off here with just kind of talking about that a little bit and where we came from with clowns. So the definition of a clown is a familiar comic character or pantomime and circus, known by distinctive makeup and costume, ludicrous antics, and buffoonery. Buffoonery. That's
Buffoonery.
a weird word. I don't say that often, so it didn't feel right. Whose purpose is to induce hearty laughter. The clown, unlike the traditional fool or court jester, usually performs a set of routine characterized by broad graphic humor, absurd situations, and vigorous physical action. So, what's really interesting is also the word clown it's Icelandic, comes from the word Clooney, not George, but Clooney, Klunni, and which means a clumsy person. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But this part here is a little crazy to me. I don't know if you guys realize this or came across this. If anybody knows this, bonus points for you. But the first known clowns date from the time of the fifth dynasty of Egypt, around 2400 BC. So that's kind of crazy. I
Yeah.
didn't really realize that we had gone that far back with clowns. Um,
I didn't
yeah,
either.
the it kind of says here too. The early clowns were also priests, and their roles were almost inseparable.
What?
Which yeah, that's
That's
pretty
crazy.
interesting.
That does sound
So,
strange.
then clowns of ancient Greece was a big deal, and they were bald and wore padded clothes to appear larger. Ancient Roman clowns wore pointed hats and were the butts of the jokes. And then from there, we get into Italy and the Harlequins and the pirouettes. Um, and it kind of just snowballed all from there. And then from there, we have a lot of famous clowns who developed the looks and developed the routines. There's clowns everywhere. You got Krusty the Clown, you got Ronald McDonald, you got, just clowns out the butt. And a lot of that,
The
yeah, you
wazoo.
got Krusty Bozo, you got Pennywise Binky the Clown. Hell, I remember on In Living Color, Homie the Clown. Homie, don't play that.
Oh,
Yeah,
Homie the
Homie, don't play
Clown.
that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
You
loved
got
that.
Joker, you got, just Captain Spaulding. Of course, Charlie Chaplin was always playing a clown. They're just so embroidered in our history and in our culture in different ways. A lot of times to be funny, but it also really crept in and took a huge hold in horror. And I think that's really what we're talking about today, um, because it is a big fear in a lot of people. What are your thoughts on Steve? I think you said that when you were younger, you really didn't care for clowns. Do you have any kind of opinions on why that
Yeah.
might be.
Well, we've talked about the Stephen King story in the past, and how I ran up on Pennywise, and also another character of one of Stephen King's earlier works as well. But I mean, I was younger. I was probably um, early double digits, I guess. So still enough to be, I mean,
Mhm.
pretty scared shitless if you came upon something that you weren't expecting. But I thought about that today. I was on the road a lot, and I thought about what makes a clown scary. And I think it's the unfamiliar or the unrecognizable facial features. A lot of ways that somebody wearing a mask that has either large eyes or a strange smile or something that just takes it a little bit too far. Um, I remember the song "Black Hole Sun" by
Well, yeah.
Soundgarden, where
Mhm.
everybody's smiles kind of turn really,
Yeah,
and it just makes you uneasy. It's like, damn, that's kind of
yeah.
freaky. And I think in a lot of ways, the looks of most clowns that I see, they have either large eyes or a huge smile or something irregular to
Mhm.
themselves that um, kind of makes them uh, mysterious almost. And because of that, I guess it plays off of the fear of the
I think
unknown.
you just don't want to see us happy.
Who's
Exactly.
that person behind the mask?
I think you're just anti-smile, dude. You just don't want to see us
I,
happy. Like, what the
I
fuck?
am. Well, I mean, go watch Smile the movie if you want to
Yeah,
smile.
that's a
But
whole nother
yeah,
story.
I've never been a fan of clowns. I really haven't. And as we've talked about before, because of that, I'm not really big into clown horror, but I have seen my fair share of them. So
Well,
Yeah, that makes two of us.
hopefully we'll be able to knock some of those out. I have noticed watching clown, and I love clowns. I'm a big clown fan. I even got one over my head right here, and I got a bunch of clown stuff. I love clown stuff. I don't know. It always interests me. I was always very curious about it. But I noticed with clown movies, I'm gonna go ahead and say this: they're either they're extremely fucking hit or miss because there is a
Yeah,
lot of garbage fucking clown movies out there, and I tried to watch a few, quite honestly, and I had to turn some off. I really wanted to come into this with some new clown movies. I really was like, okay, this is great. This is an opportunity to kind of watch some new things, and I didn't make it through a lot of them. They were fucking awful. I mean, it seems like just everybody with $5 who wants to make a movie wants to make a clown horror movie, and it just doesn't work
yeah,
most of the fucking time. Um,
yeah. And if you think about it, it's because it's so cheap too. Like, I mean, clown costume,
yeah,
makeup. Hey,
you
you
can get
got a
that shit
movie.
on clearance at Walmart
Just need some fake
after
blood.
Halloween, and
Yeah,
I mean, you have to be a really good actor in order to play that role and to truly
it's
scare
yeah,
just
somebody. If not, you're just an
for
annoying clown.
$5 you ain't finding that good
right.
of acting, man. I can tell you that for sure. I exaggerate on
No.
the $5, of course. I'm sure it was more like 5,000 or 10,000, whatever. Budget seemed really fucking low. Acting's awful. One was Clown Hotel or Clown Motel, something like that. That was I couldn't even
Mm,
get that far. I was just like, what the fuck. Now the flip side of that though is that some of the ones that we're going to discuss, when you have your Rob Zombie movies, he uses a lot of clowns and a lot of clown characters and references. So I would consider those in the realm of clown movies. Those are pretty high quality, pretty good films. One that we had kind of talked about, or I don't know if we talked about that on the show, but Steve and I both agreed that the movie Clown is an impeccable movie. We're going to talk about that some as well, and of course the
yeah.
big dog, it. Everybody knows, everybody loves it. Pennywise is
Yeah.
probably the most famous clown, especially today. Um, but to add on to what we were talking about, the fear here, it's actually formally referred to as coulrophobia, Coulro phobia, Col- coulrophobia. I don't know why the I don't,
Doesn't really
yeah,
roll
that
off the
doesn't
tongue
roll off the
easy, does
tongue at
it?
all. And I've been saying it a couple times today, and that's the first time I really had problem with it. Of course, while we're recording, but that is the
Right.
fear of clowns. And Steve, I think you actually really hit on something because a lot of the fear of clowns from different psychologists I was reading about and stuff that published articles is kind of it's sort of like ambiguous, really. The clown look you have, because you can have
Mhm.
somebody with sad makeup smiling, or you can have somebody, with clown makeup smiling who's frowning or looks angry. And as humans, that doesn't compute very well because it's kind of very ambiguous as to what that person is feeling or what kind of
Mhm.
intentions they have, if you will.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
kind of creepy that somebody's smiling at you with this makeup and they look angry, and you're like, I think it almost kind of kicks into the fight or flight a little bit. Like it doesn't make sense to us on a certain biological level. Um, and also a lot of it starts off as kids, and I was kind of reading some things about that. And it's the experience of your parents bringing you to a friend's birthday party, let's just say, or the circus or whatever the fuck, and you walk in and you really have no expectation. Maybe it's not properly explained to you, but then you see this guy with these giant fucking shoes and this makeup and this crazy big, larger than life, colorful fucking costume. And I mean, it's almost not. It's human, but it's almost like unhuman in a way. So I think
Mhm.
it's almost like the same. People are afraid of what they can't understand, kind of thing. That everybody has heard that before. And I think that, especially at a young age, that's kind of a hard thing to take in the first time you see it. The first time you really experience clowns, which kind of gives us maybe that little bit of fear or misunderstanding. I think I'm just a weird sick fuck because I've loved clowns since I was a kid. I mean, it's just they never freaked me out. Even creepy clowns. I mean, I think they look fun. I want to go juggle some fucking chainsaws with them or something. I don't know.
Yeah, almost every clown movie I've ever seen where a clown looks hideous. I mean, it looks like it's a killer. And these kids are like, "Oh, he just wants to play, let's invite him into the house." I don't know that kid. I've never met that kid before. I could never quite understand how they could pitch that as being realistic, that a little
Yeah.
kid is going to invite in a psychotic
That's
looking,
it.
um, you know, I've never understood that. But um, I do want to tell you this before I forget, because I had a moment today where I was looking into some older clowns as well, and I started thinking about Ronald
Hmm.
McDonald. Kind of one of
Mhm.
the clowns that all of us grew up with as a kid. Didn't really even ever think about it. Have
Yeah.
you seen the 1960s version
Oh
of
yeah.
Ronald
Yep.
McDonald?
Absolutely.
No,
Where
I don't think so.
so he's wearing like a food tray for a hat, a cup for a nose. It's like he just pulled a bunch of McDonald's stuff out of the dumpster and dressed himself in it. It is very, very strange. Um, Not something that I would figure you'd make commercials about and try to bring in people to eat at your restaurant looking like
Yeah.
that. So they definitely did an upgrade 10, 15 years later by making him look more like a clown instead of a hobo who lives in a garbage can. But
Well, maybe the whole point
um,
is,
that was pretty wild.
if you eat their burgers, you're not going to end up a hobo in a garbage can. Maybe that's what they're going for. I
I
don't know.
don't know.
Or maybe you will.
Or maybe you will. There's always that possibility. So, Jen, what do you think? Weighing in here on this whole colrophobia um, thing we're discussing here. How have you felt about clowns throughout your life?
Oh, well, I'm similar to Steve.
Oh, you're not a sick
Um,
fuck. Am I the only sick fuck here?
I guess not.
Oh shit.
Um, I I was trying to remember the other day, like when I first saw like a creepy clown, and I think it was Poltergeist. I'm pretty sure I saw Poltergeist first before I saw Stephen King's It. Stephen King's It, I think I saw when I was 11.
Okay.
Poltergeist, I'm pretty sure I saw when I was like a little bit younger than that. Um, but yeah, that clown. Remember the one that it's like a
Oh
clown
yeah, yeah.
doll, and it
Hmm.
like is under the
Yep.
bed, and then grabs him from behind.
Yep.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a freaky moment.
for sure. So that was actually the scariest part of that movie for me. Nothing else really freaked me out. In fact, I really enjoyed like all the other parts of the movie, especially when the food is like moving across the counter.
yeah.
It's like a steak or something, and
Oh
the maggots
Jesus, we're
start
back
coming
to the
out. Like
steak
I thought
again.
that
We're
was
talking about
the
are you talking about
cool. Oh,
shivers?
And the mirror.
The
No. What? No.
steak going in orifices.
Um, no. Uh, no, I'm
Oh,
talking
okay.
about
Just want to make
Poltergeist.
sure.
But I really enjoyed, like, that scene too in the mirror when the guy's, like, taking off his face. I know I'm, rambling. This is not really clown part here. But I'm just saying I really, like, enjoyed, that movie and was not scared at all of any of the other parts except for the fucking
Yeah, you
clown.
see that a lot, and they really
Um,
like drove the clown home too in the remake. I know that was a part that freaked
yeah,
everybody out, so they really built that up in the new one. I almost kind of think,
yeah, because
but
they
it's one of those
knew.
things too where it's like you see something as a kid. I almost would say that because of when I saw Poltergeist, the original clown scene is a little bit creepier because now being an adult and them doing the remake, obviously the CGI and tech and everything is
Right.
better, but it's maybe it would have freaked me out more when I was a kid, but the nostalgia of we were kind of more susceptible to fear when we were younger. Um,
Oh,
I
for
mean, I
sure.
still don't think it freaked me out too much because I do like the clowns, and I've always been like ah. But
Yeah.
of course, Poltergeist. That was
You were like,
it's
"Yay,
like
a
yeah,
clown."
clown. Look, he just wants to play. I'm that weird kid that's gonna
Yeah.
invite him in the fucking house. While Steve's over there, Uncle Bucking the clowns, punching him in the face. Um,
Dude, come into my house as a clown, you get knocked out.
I
That's
don't
how
know
it
if you
Yes.
goes.
remember Uncle Buck
Yes, same
Yeah.
for
punching the
me.
clown out.
I would
Oh
definitely go
man.
in survivor mode if a clown came into my
I
house.
mean, I just
Yeah.
think,
Well, and you also, you get those clowns that, like the original
mm,
It clown.
Mhm.
Even though
I was gonna talk
it
about that
is,
too.
yeah. I mean, it's not scary right out of the gate. Yeah, he looks a little weird, but then you get a clown like Twisty the
mm,
clown from
Mm.
American Horror
mm,
Story. That
Yeah.
thing is scary as shit. I mean, didn't he blow his jaw off with a gun or something, trying to kill himself because
yeah, he was.
the kids didn't
Yeah.
like him or whatever? And I mean that there's a big difference between a clown that scares the shit out of you right out of the gate and one that has to work for those
Oh
scares.
yeah,
Right.
And I think that goes to the acting portion of it as well. But um,
Very true.
and then you have clowns from I mean, much earlier, of course, but the ones that I'm used to seeing are the ones from the 80s and 90s and so on, versus the ones today, which so much of it was acting versus CGI effects nowadays.
Right.
I looked at comparisons in scares between the different It movies back from the original versus the Skarsgård ones, and although he did a phenomenal job in the acting role as well, there was so many more different CGI effects that kind of upped the ante a little bit that you didn't have back in the 80s to be able to use. So
Right.
um, uh, I'm impressed by that, I guess, when a movie from the 80s with a clown can scare the shit out of
I'm
you
not
too.
gonna lie. That's one of those situations where I'm pretty sure I might get hate mail on it, but I actually really enjoyed the remake of it. I thought Bill Skarsgård actually blew Tim Curry away,
Mm.
which is hard for me to say because I'm always a big fan of the originals. I usually don't like the originals being messed with. If you get me talking about Willy Wonka, that's a whole other story. But anyway,
Oh,
you don't
yeah.
fuck with Gene Wilder, and honestly, there's a lot of
Same.
people that say you don't fuck with Tim Curry, but Bill Skarsgård, I mean, watching it, he was phenomenal, and
Mm. Yeah.
I mean, to me, I'll go back and watch the original It to for nostalgic purposes, but quite
Yeah.
frankly, Bill Skarsgård really hit home for me.
I think a
Yeah,
lot
I
of it
mean,
with
he's a
Skarsgård
good actor.
too. Yeah, I mean he was and
He's got the
is,
face for it
but
too.
He really does.
and he's got the voice for it. I think that's the
Yeah.
big thing is, and I would equate that to like the Joker with Heath Ledger, the
Mm.
almost kind of insanity in the words, the peaks and valleys of the high pitch, almost like a scratchy voice that goes deep and then high pitch and just all over the place
Yeah.
where it just speaks to a broken mind and insanity from within.
Mhm.
And he did a great job with that. I listened to the scene where the little kid's at his boat went into the drain and everything, and I just watched a few minutes of that earlier, and just hearing him talk to the kid, his voice is all over the place. It's like he's going through puberty
Yeah.
himself, and that just adds to the kind of psychoticness that he's
Yeah,
trying to
Tim Curry
portray.
was a little bit more one note with just kind of the scratchy, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, but I do think that the voice really did matter in the new it as well. And yeah, of course. Jen, did you have any notes on
Yeah,
it? Oh,
I
okay.
do.
I can't
Um,
believe it.
so you can't. Um, yeah, I rewatched the original Stephen King's It. Slogged through all 3 hours of it.
It's a long one. It's a long one.
Because it used to be, yeah, it used to be a
Yeah.
miniseries. It was like hour long, 3-part miniseries. Um, and I say slogged because I realized just how bad it actually
Oh.
is.
Oh.
I know, and that's I know that's surprising because I really usually side with the
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
originals. Now that being said, I am a huge Tim Curry fan. Um, and I still love him, and I still think he did a good job. But I think he's the only saving grace
Wow.
to the
Okay.
original one. It is dated. It is so horribly dated, in my opinion. I know it was done like what, 1990.
1990.
Yeah, and I watched it when I think I was 11 or maybe 10. Um, and it did affect me. It affected me like very much when I was that age. I had really bad dreams. I thought that he was at my window. I didn't even look in my window for like 3
Got that
years.
red balloon just kind of hanging out outside the window.
Yeah. I knew for sure that if I like opened my window, especially at night, that I would see his face like immediately. Like that's what was always in my head. It wasn't even just bad dreams. It was like during the night, like before I would go to bed. My window was near my bed. So I was constantly afraid to look out that window for fear that
So
I
what
would
I'm
see him.
hearing you say is that even though
Um,
it's dated back in the day, it did the fucking trick.
very, very dated. Oh, it
Oh,
did
absolutely.
for me
Yeah.
when I was that young. Yeah. But things are different when you're younger. Like you get scared over the dark. I wasn't one of those kids, but you get scared just for, you know, your closet door being ajar
Hey,
or
I watch
something.
some movies that are
Um,
dated, and I just sit there the whole time and can't get over the fucking hairstyles. I mean, honestly, like sometimes I'm
right?
just sitting there like, who the
I
fuck
noticed
looks
that
like
too.
that? You know, I can't believe that.
Or
Yeah, I
the
mean, I can't
clothes.
believe that those things were attractive at one point. 'Cause I'm just like sitting there like, what the fuck? You know,
There's only a
Yeah.
handful of horror movies that I've watched back in the day that still hold for me. The Thing,
Mm.
I think, is one of them.
Oh, for
But
sure.
to
My favorite
it's almost
movie.
laughable. You watch it like, damn, I thought that was scary or this was good. I mean, and I think the nostalgia of the old It versus the new one is what kind of
Mm.
drove everybody to maybe go rewatch the original again. Or I know I did when the one and two of the new It came out. I watched it with my daughter, and then it's like, you know what? I'm going to go back and watch the original again, the OG. And yeah,
Yeah.
it was bad.
No, it was
I'll
pretty
agree
bad,
with you.
right?
It was a slog for sure. You're not
Yeah.
wrong there.
slogging,
So
man. This word
yeah.
slog keeps coming up. So
I
it's
like that word.
I think if we were to rate it, we probably need to think about it like we were kids though, because it's probably getting a lower rating than it really should at the moment. But yeah, Tim Curry was good. The acting in the new one is just so much better.
Yeah.
Not even just Pennywise, but even like the kids growing up as adults just were much better cast in my opinion, and were
Mhm.
better actors. I mean, it's night and day to me. But I do still sit there and I don't know. A lot of things I watch, it just reminds me of when I was a kid, just kind of, rainy day or whatever, sitting on the couch, and sometimes you just feel nostalgic and take a little, trip back in time. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I had those two down here definitely. I had something here on Twisty the Clown. I was gonna go ahead and just give a little synopsis to that in case people haven't seen that. But uh, as Twisty the Clown, a slow but gentle clown at a freak show who becomes the victim of a malicious lie spread by the carnival freaks, and it goes downhill from there. As he comes home to find his mother has died, he is unable to support himself, and he can't even kill himself with a shotgun in his mouth, only mutilating his lower jaw. So he snaps, raging into a killing spree, targeting mean parents and kidnapping their children to be his audience. What really makes Twisty memorable is the grim, frightening mask he wears over the lower part of his face, a macabre grin that hides a monster. I just had some synopsises here,
Macabre.
macabre, uh, and that joke is never going to leave Psychopinion. Just,
Yeah.
we just need shirts with my face on it that says macabre. But anyway, I wanted to throw that in there.
You're
Huh?
thinking of Abra, what is it, Sabra Cadabra?
Abracadabra.
That song?
Sabre.
Sabra Cadabra.
That reminds me of The Office, but we won't get into that because that's not horror here. But and then so getting kind of into it because I think we all watched that one as well. The movie Clown was one that I really
Oh
wanted to talk
yeah,
about, and just kind of
You watched it?
yeah, Jen watched it,
Good. Jen
I
watched it. Yeah.
and
did.
It's good, isn't it?
It's actually now my favorite clown movie.
it's a great
Mine
movie.
too.
I'll give you a little synopsis on that before we really talk about it, because I don't know if people have heard of that one as much or if it's as popular as it. There really wasn't much to say about it. Everybody's seen that, and if you haven't, then you live under a fucking rock. But poor Jack McCoy, it's his birthday party, and the clown that was hired for the event canceled at the last minute. What's a father to do? Kent McCoy, played by Andy Powers, steps up and entertains the guests, having found a clown costume in a home he's selling. Problem is, now it won't come off, and it is made from the hair and skin of an Icelandic demon. Which there we go again. Actually, that brings a connection in knowing now that Clooney,
Yeah.
is an Icelandic word for clown. Now Kent has a craving, hunger for kids, eating a few at the local Chuck E. Cheese. Good old Chuck E.
Mhm.
Cheese. So that's kind of the synopsis there. And this is, we don't worry about spoilers here. So, sorry about that if you haven't seen it. But the whole point is that I personally felt this was a newer take on the clown scenario, kind of being more forced into that role. The father is, and it's kind of fucked up, because in a way, if you really think about it, the father was just trying to be a good dad, and he was this
Yep.
nice
Hmm.
guy to start off with and everything. He didn't seem or appear or come off as a malicious or angry or harmful person. But then there's this, his wife's worried that the clown didn't show up and the kids aren't having as good of a time, and he finds, this clown suit in a chest, puts it on, and kind of goes from there. And I won't say too much because we'll get into some other opinions here. Steve, I know that this is a huge favorite of yours. What do you want to add about
I,
this one?
well, yeah, I mean, it is a favorite of mine. It's one of those ones where I was intrigued throughout, where a lot of movies will, you can come and go. You can, I got to take a piss and you don't pause it. There's movies you pause and you
Yeah.
come back to. There's others that you just kind of leave the room. I was taken by this one, so
Mhm.
it was very cool. I liked the idea of the suit sticking to him and becoming part of his body. I thought it
Yeah.
was cool when she was trying to pull his nose off, and they end up getting it off and off taking his nose off, and the
Oh,
dog eats it,
yeah.
which
Yeah.
comes into play later on. But um, and the God, I forget his name. The other actor in the movie, what's his name? That he's been in a lot of
Yeah, I know
stuff.
Oh, the one with like the beard.
you're talking about the guy
I
that
think
the
he
guy
has.
that always
What's
plays
his
a
name?
Russian, right? Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's in Constantine.
Yeah, he
Great,
plays
great role
the
as
devil
the
in
devil.
Constantine.
Yeah, but yeah, he always kind of looks like a bit of a fucking weirdo anyway, and
Yeah.
he did a good job in this movie too. Um, But yeah, it's a cool take on it. It's fresh. It's something I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before, where somebody becomes a demon clown as opposed to already being one to start with. You know, your
Mhm.
average father who's trying to do the right thing, like Jake said, and then ends up turning into quite literally a monster. So it was just a cool take, and the growling stomach sounds were
Oh,
really
yeah.
Oh
really
yeah.
cool.
Mhm.
Unlike any, I've never heard my stomach make that noise before, so it definitely, you know, every time his stomach growled for needing to, you know, when the kids were around her, it
Mhm.
really kind of sounded like, man, this guy's he needs to eat. So I thought that was pretty cool. But with a small budget, which I'm sure it was, they did a
Yeah.
great job.
I mean, Eli Roth, he's usually pretty solid for me. He's definitely done some other ones in the past that I've really enjoyed. I mean, of course, Cabin Fever and the Hostels. Um, this one actually almost seemed like it was more of an independent project than some of his other movies, and I kind of like that too. I kind of like the feeling of it wasn't super budgeted and super high tech. It kind of for me was a little more natural that way. And the guy you were looking for was Peter Stormare, so I love that guy
Okay.
actually, and I was a little embarrassed I couldn't remember his name either. It's always when you're like talking about how much you like somebody that you can't remember their fucking name. You ever notice that? You're like, oh, I
Yeah.
fucking love that guy.
Yep.
Fuck, what's his
Happens
name?
to
And
me.
then you're sitting there thinking like, how much could I love this guy? I can't remember his fucking name, and that sucks. But Jen, what kind of notes you got over there for us on Clown? Bring it out.
Um, sure. I put that it was highly recommended and for good reason. It's one
That's
of
us,
my
Steve. She's
favorites
talking
now.
about our recommendation, buddy.
Yeah.
There you
You
go.
guys made a good
Hell yeah.
recommendation. And I put that it has characters that I actually cared about. I cared about the family. I liked the transformation of the clown. Steven also talked about that. I also thought it was really cool the whole nose part. Because even after they take off the nose, it still looks really red. Like he's almost like still wearing it, and it's just all gross and
Hmm.
stuff. I really really liked that. Um, I thought it was clever and done well. It wasn't silly. I didn't think it was silly. I've seen a lot of silly clown movies now.
Yeah. Shit.
But that one was not silly. It took like a more serious and sad approach, which I thought was really well done. Um, and by the end, the clown does look really creepy, like genuinely creepy. Um, so I think they did a really good job with the
Yeah,
effects.
they had a nice
You say
transformation.
it's low budget, but it didn't seem that low budget to me. It was so good that I didn't even think that it
Well,
was
that's what
that
I was
low
kind of
budget.
talking about. Is I was kind of
Yeah.
saying that it felt
Yeah,
right, but I don't.
right.
I can't imagine they put that much money into it, though. I mean, there just wasn't as much special effects, and I mean, even the acting was
Yeah.
phenomenal. But I've never heard of Andy Powers really before. I mean, he's the guy that played the dad, and he did a phenomenal job as well. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah, he didn't look familiar to me either. Like, I don't think I've
I
seen him
mean,
in
Peter
anything
Stormare
else.
is really the biggest actor in the movie, from what I can remember.
Mhm. He was the only one where I was like, "Oh, I think I know that guy from something," and I couldn't think of what.
Yeah, no, definitely. Steve, you got anything else on Clown?
Well, just as Jen was saying, the stages of the clown from going from human to demon.
Mhm.
They did a great job with the effects there, and
Definitely.
because there is a plot and there is a storyline and there are characters that you like,
Mhm.
it makes it that much more enjoyable first and foremost to watch, but that much more difficult to see people go through mental pain and anguish. You almost kind of feel for that guy, like
Yes.
he's torn. He doesn't want to become what he's becoming, and would do anything to reverse that. But you're kind of on board, you know, at the edge of your seat, waiting to see what happens. Is he gonna die? Is he gonna kill himself? Is somebody else gonna kill him? Is he gonna turn back human again? So
Yeah.
there was enough uncertainty throughout the movie too that you didn't really know which direction it was going to go until the very end. So that was good.
Yeah. Like, I actually thought the end, I thought it was gonna go in a slightly different direction, and I was quite surprised when it didn't go in that direction. I'm kind of afraid to mention what I thought was going to happen because I don't want to spoil it for anybody of what actually
Oh, we
happened.
don't care here. Fuck
But
them. But you know,
oh, well,
I,
in that case, I thought for sure that the kid was going to turn into a clown. I thought that he was going to somehow like have a piece of the clothing or something, and because they kept all these kids kept calling him like doll, because his mom would call him doll.
Mhm.
And the kids kept like bullying him and like calling him doll, but like in a really mean way. And I thought for sure that would mean that like at the end he would be like a clown
then
doll
you'd
or
be eating all
something.
those kids that fucked with him. That
Yeah,
might have been
well,
good karma right there. Well, a good case of
the
karma.
dad kind of did
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and then that's the hard part. If you gotta eat kids, you might as well eat the ones that fuck with your kid. I mean, so watch out there.
Yeah.
If there's anybody listening that's a bully, I mean, perfect example of don't fuck with the wrong people.
Yeah, don't bully people because you might get
Yeah,
eaten
you
by a
don't want that
clown.
shit. That would not be good at all. So one of my other really mentionable clowns here I wanted to touch on was Captain Spaulding, um, played by Sid Haig. Rest in peace. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a pretty big Sid Haig fan. He's done incredible things for horror throughout the years. He's made a lot of cameos here and there. Just a great guy. The last thing I think I saw him in was Bone Tomahawk, which was a awesome movie, but not anything to do with clowns. So I will continue. Captain Spaulding, though, part of House of a Thousand Corpses, and uh, going into Three from Hell and things like that. Um, I think Captain Spaulding. I mean, that character just blew up. Like he's almost as big as Pennywise. I think in popularity, people just love Captain Spaulding. Um, what did you guys kind of think of his take on the clown? I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, his take is, I think he feels more real because he doesn't have a whole lot of
Yeah,
face paint, just some blue over his eyes and
yeah.
some white and just a scruffy old beard and just looks like a sick old dude that would do
Right?
some crazy stuff. And does in all those movies. So I think he has a realism to him that you don't get it with some of these other clowns until you kind of see who they are and what they are. A face of a clown doesn't do a whole lot. Yeah, it's scary, or no, it's not. But once you start to see how the movie goes, and are they chopping people's heads off, or it's hard to get to know them until they've done some stuff. Seeing this guy right out of the gate, you almost think, yeah, this is a sick dude. So it didn't
Definitely.
take long for me
I
to
just
figure
loved
that
his
out.
personality. Like, he's got the guys trying to rob his shop in the beginning of House of a Thousand Corpses, and the guy's got the gun in his face. He's just like, "Fuck your mother," like, uh, just
Mhm. They hand him like a
yeah,
chicken wing or something.
just the guy ran out with the cleaver or whatever. But I mean, he just didn't. He was fearless. It was just, I don't know, man. I just when I think of clowns, he's definitely one I think of. Of course,
Mhm.
Pennywise, and then now clown. But some of the iconic ones, Captain Spaulding, and then of course, we'll probably touch on Art the Clown here in a minute. And Art the Clown is from
Mhm.
originally Art the Clown is from All Hallows Eve, which a lot of people don't know, but he was the
Yep.
clown in Terrifier, which they're
Yep.
making a third one of. And I do have an opinion about the second one that I'll share here in a minute when we get there. Um, another clown of note, which is on my paperwork here, but I haven't really thought about for a while, was also the Violator from Spawn, played by John Leguizamo,
There you go.
Oh
and
yeah.
he was
Yep,
kind of a
that was a
yeah, he
messed
was
up.
kind of a wild,
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, you really can't tell it's John Leguizamo. He must have had 300 pounds of fucking aesthetic on him or whatever,
Hmm.
makeup and whatever fat suits and shit. But great character. John Leguizamo, of course, is a great character
Yeah.
actor. So just wanted to bring him up as one of
He
note as
did a
well.
he did a good
Another
job with the
clown
voice.
that's yeah, that's more demon than clown too. I mean,
Right.
he's from
It seems
hell.
as though
So,
demons are pretty closely related
but
to clowns here in some of these, kind of
Mhm.
sort of have your human clowns, then your, more human than human clowns. Little joke there in zombie, no pun intended. And then your,
mhm.
then your demon clowns. So
Yeah, I did notice with like a lot of these movies, there was like rituals, like satanic rituals, and some of them are like, yeah,
Well, now
demons.
today we've learned that it goes
So,
back to like Icelandic lore. So
yeah,
apparently,
which I do think is very
yeah,
cool.
and there's definitely clowns just have such an interesting backstory to me. Just they're so historically interesting to me, and
Yeah.
it's so funny the spectrum of clowns because they're really originally made to just make people laugh, but they've ended up being one of the scariest
Mhm.
parts of many horror
Mhm.
movies. So it's just the whole spectrum. Just clowns are everywhere. Did you watch or do you have anything to say about House of Thousand Corpses there, Jen?
No, I haven't watched that one since it came out, and I barely
Well,
remember
I'll
it.
piggyback right away on it because I'm sure you
Um,
guys haven't seen it, but 31,
nope.
Yeah, I had, but I heard, in fact, today that that was another Rob Zombie movie.
it's
Yeah.
But
it's
no,
one
I
of the
hadn't
lesser
seen it.
known ones, and 31 is kind of cool. That's one I think I'll go ahead and read a little bit of the synopsis here. Rob Zombie has clown issues. In 31, director Zombie follows a group of five carnival workers. One, of course, is his wife because she needs to be in every movie he makes. I don't know what happens if she's not,
Right.
but maybe he's sleeping on the couch. Either way, who were kidnapped and forced to play a game called 31, where they must survive for 12 hours in a maze of rooms. It's kind of like I would describe it as like an old industrial factory. Um, while being chased by murderous clowns known as the Heads, Sick Head, uh, Psycho Head, Schizo Head, Sex Head, and Death Head. And all of those characters were really interesting. Sick Head is like this little miniature, he's like a midget Hispanic guy who looks like Hitler, who's chasing him around. And then you have these two like redneck clowns. That's Schizo Head and Psycho Head, and then Sex Head is just this weird, really tall German guy who's wearing like a I don't know some kind of tight bathing suit or something. And then Death Head is he's the main one. He's a really cool fucking character. He's like sick as shit. He's awesome. Um, I thought that was a really good movie. It's one of Rob Zombie's lesser known ones. A lot of people I've talked to haven't heard of it, but it's I don't know. It's really good. As always, good music in the movie. Rob Zombie usually has good music in the movie. Of course, he's a musician by trade, and that was his first thing. Um, but yeah, also it doesn't. I didn't mention that, but Malcolm McDowell's in it, and I'm a huge Malcolm. I love
Oh, I like
Malcolm
him.
McDowell.
Yeah.
Alex from Clockwork Orange back in the day. Yeah, it's a
Mhm.
good movie. I would definitely recommend checking it out. These guys haven't seen it, so there's not a whole lot to say about it here, but uh, anyway, it's worth the watch in my opinion. So moving forward in the clown market here, I would say that Art the Clown is probably one to discuss, and I there is something about that that's been bothering me that I would like to get off my chest. So, are you guys familiar with either All Hallows Eve Terrifier or Terrifier 2?
Yep. I watched All Hallows Eve and I watched Terrifier, the
Okay.
first one, but I have not seen the second one.
Yeah, I've watched Terrifier and parts of All Hallows Eve, but I've not seen the second Terrifier.
I think that as sick as it is, I kind of thought him splitting the woman in half in Terrifier was probably my favorite kill. I just thought that was kind of wild.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah. Definitely one of the most
yeah.
memorable parts.
I like the mystery behind Art the Clown. I kind of like that it's like you almost don't really know what's going on with him. Like, is he just this insane person dressed as a clown? Sort of what's his story? I definitely like how he screws with people. I kind of like the fact that he doesn't talk. I think that makes him a little more,
Oh yeah.
creepy. He just kind of sits there and smiles at
Mhm.
people and makes, creepy faces at them. I think that's really interesting, and I enjoy that. We can talk more about and get the notes, but what I want to say is anybody that's seen Terrifier 1 and 2, one thing I can't stand about movies, any movies in general, is that I feel like when you write a movie, you design a world. You make a universe. You know what I'm saying? Everybody talks about the Marvel universe and this
Yeah.
universe and that universe. You're making a universe. You're making rules. You're making the way people live. You're making it's like the way we live now. There's certain rules. There's certain ways that we can do things that are impossible or whatever. And Terrifier 2, this magical element came in about halfway through the movie, and it really like drove me nuts because it felt like it came out of fucking nowhere. Like I got the impression,
Mhm.
obviously, from Terrifier 1 that Art the clown could not be killed. But then all of a sudden, in the middle of Terrifier 2, there's this girl's having weird dreams and all this other shit. It's almost like a chosen one type scenario, it feels like. And all of a sudden there's this sword that can kill Art the clown or some shit. And
What the
it's like
hell?
this
Really?
magic sword, and it felt like it like just made up rules as it went along. And I don't really like that because the first one, it didn't feel to me at all like there was any sort of magical element in that world or that universe. Like it was just it's a creepy fucking clown who can't be
Mhm.
killed, like another slasher or whatever, if you will, you know.
Yeah.
But then I don't know, somewhere I feel like they really went off the rails somewhere in the second one. Kind of turned me off because I really liked the first one. I really
Mhm.
wanted to like the second one, and I do like the second one, but just the you can't just have this movie where everything's kind of normal and then all of a sudden there's a magic fucking sword out of nowhere. I mean,
Right. I mean, that's cheap
yeah,
writing. Like that's
like
just
it.
that's
Like
kind of
halfway
stupid.
through writing the movie, they're like, "Oh well, how are we gonna kill this guy?" And they're like, "Magic fucking sword." What? You know,
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
don't dig that.
I I haven't seen the second one, but now that you're saying that, kind of don't want to.
The first one, if you just stick with the first one, I think you'll be happy forever. But at the
Yeah, I
same
saw that
time,
one.
though,
Yeah, I mean, even after watching the first one, I really don't have any desire to watch the second one. It's just not my
well,
cup of
I mean,
tea.
I love
But
Mhm.
clowns, so
um,
I was definitely like
there you go.
excited.
And
Yeah.
you love the good old fashioned sawing a woman in half, just in
Yeah.
a different
Well, I
way, right?
mean, it wasn't so
Yeah.
bad. I feel like that happens a lot. That happened in well, to a dude, it happened in Texas Chainsaw. You know, that's a big thing. Use a
Mm.
chainsaw. I don't remember.
Hmm.
Did Art the Clown use a chainsaw? I don't remember that. Like what he used to cut her in half. Might have been like a.
I think it was just like a
That
hacksaw.
might have been. Oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. I think it
I
was.
yeah.
don't
That
remember.
that
Yeah, it
that
might have
sounds
been
right.
that. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because I don't remember hearing a chainsaw, so I don't think it was that.
Might have
Hmm.
been one of them silent chainsaws.
You mentioned the mystery of Art the Clown, and I'm glad that you brought that up because there is like quite a bit of mystery about him. Like why is he always carrying around that garbage bag, and why does he always go into bathrooms and shit all over
Shit
them?
everywhere. I think more importantly, what garbage bag is he using? Because that thing is fantastic.
Yeah,
I'd like to get a pack of those garbage bags. I mean, but I
Hmm.
think the
he should endorse them. He should be the
I
spokesperson for
think
those
Hefty should
garbage
get on
bags.
this.
I
Hefty
know.
should cut a deal with Art
Yeah.
That'd be
and
hilarious.
have him just have somebody mention one time, what is that, a Hefty bag? $1 million deal right there if I was Hefty.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a really good point, and I'm glad you brought that up. And the second,
Yeah.
sorry,
Well, I was just going to add to that scene in the restaurant at the beginning where he
Mhm.
liquid shits all over the place and then smashes I mean, so he's both a psychotic killer, but he's also a lunatic who's going to shit all over the walls too. So this guy's got
Yeah.
a double or triple threat going on here. So definitely speaks to his mental capacity. We'll
I
put it
mean, if
that
you're
way.
gonna
Mhm.
go, let's go all the way. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't hold back.
Hmm.
You want to just take a dump on everything? Just take a dump on everything. I mean, at that point, you got nothing to lose. I was gonna.
Well, I was gonna say real quick, if anybody out there has worked in retail or in the food service, they have dealt with customers that, totally destroy a bathroom with their shits. So that's what it made me think of when I saw that
Ironically
part. I was
enough,
like, God.
off subject of clowns. Ironically enough, I want to say that I have been a manager at many retail establishments, and for whatever
Yeah.
reason, and this is a misconception of most people, I think. For whatever reason, the women's bathrooms are always worse. Always
Mhm.
worse. Now, like men's bathrooms, yeah, you got a little piss on the floor.
Not not where I used to
Well,
work, but that's because I would clean the
well, good
women's
for you.
bathroom.
But I'm saying I have walked in on literally wet shit up the wall, and I don't even understand how somebody did that because it didn't look like it was placed there.
Yeah.
It looked like somebody just bent over and cannon shot shit all over the fucking
Yeah.
wall.
Like projectile
Yeah,
shit
like it
at
was
it.
just like a water balloon full of fucking diarrhea on the goddamn wall. And I've never seen that in a men's room. There's piss on the floor, might be a little piss on the seat, but damn sure there ain't
Mhm.
shit on the ceiling. So Women's bathrooms are worse. I don't care what anybody says. You can hate me for saying that, but
Women's bathrooms usually do get clogged a lot more
because they're
often. I
putting the
did notice
tampons in
that,
the toilet, you
but
don't
that's
do that.
probably a
That's
reason for
bad for
that.
plumbing.
Exactly.
It's bad for plumbing.
Yeah, I know.
Jesus. Oh my god. Anyway, sorry, that was fucking off topic a little bit there. Um, unless it's,
I do have notes on
I was about to
Terrifier
ask you
if we
actually
have
because I
time
was
for
trying to
that.
get back on track. Because unless it's literally a clown taking a giant cannon shit in the bathroom, then we have,
Yeah, as much as I want to hear women's bathroom shit walls, continue with your
yeah. Let's
Terrifier,
do the
Kim.
notes.
Yeah. Well, we already went through the mystery part, so that's done. I just wanted to say that I did enjoy this film. I did enjoy Terrifier. It's not my favorite, but it's kind of creeping up there because it was not bad. It had good makeup. The gore was pretty good. It was subtly creepy at first, and then it escalates to more and more violence and gore. There is kind of like a Buffalo Bill reference. I think I don't know if you guys remember that part where he puts on the female breasts. Do you remember that
Vaguely,
part?
vaguely. Has been a little
Yeah.
while.
When I saw that, I was like, "Oh, that reminds me of Silence of the Lamb."
What?
And then we already touched upon it, but the most memorable kill was definitely the girl hanging naked and sliced from groin to head.
Which could have also been a nod to Ed Gein, which Buffalo Bill was based on.
Oh,
Which
yep.
reminds me of. Never mind. Never mind. I was going in a direction there that just doesn't. You don't need to go there. So
Oh.
Were you gonna? You could take that to maybe John Wayne Gacy then, if we want to talk about real humans
we were
and
going to get to
clowns.
John Wayne Gacy. Actually, I definitely had that on my list.
Yeah.
That guy definitely took it to a new level. Like, there's a lot of documentaries. Sorry, I always say that wrong, and people bitch at me. But yeah, I mean, he was definitely. I'm not really sure what the whole clown aspect was about there. I know that he did really shitty paintings of clowns. He dressed like a clown. Pogo, right? Pogo the clown.
He
Oh, the
had
clown, yeah.
Pogo and Patches. He had two different
Okay.
clowns. Uh,
Oh,
and I actually just rewatched last night. What's his Brian Denny did Gacy back in
Yeah,
1992
that was a good one. That was
um,
that was probably the best one.
to catch a killer. Yep. And in fact, he received letters from Gacy from prison talking
really?
about how well he played him,
Oh,
and yeah, which that's creepy. Um, but yes, he had two different clowns. Pogo was the happy clown, and then Patches was the more serious clown. But he was in construction and would hire young men uh, at usually a rate of almost twice as what they were making somewhere else to be a part of his crew and to do sexual acts and things like that with him, and would more times than not end up dead in the process. I think he killed almost 30 people, if not more. Um, he was part of had a little bit of a nightlife scene where he had a club that he would go to at night, and then later on in the I think 76 or 77, um, he joined a clown club, and yeah, I didn't know that was a thing, but
yeah.
and he would do parties, and it was just a means to be able to get out there and have more
Mhm.
exposure to be able to potentially bring new people in, if you will.
Mhm.
So yeah, but that what a story, that guy. I mean, just absolutely terrible. Just a terrible human being. All
Interestingly
around.
enough, wasn't he actually like involved in local politics? He was like,
He
and he
was.
actually was
Yep.
kind of, if I remember correctly. I mean, as far as local goes, he got a little bit high up there. I know that he hobnobbed with a lot of the bigger people in the area as far as stature goes, and I think that's partially why he got away with it for so long. Is that people really?
It's part of his
Yeah.
ruse to involve himself in the Chicago Police Department. New people
Mm,
in the police department. I think Met had a. I remember in that movie I watched, he had a photo of the first lady. So he was trying to be involved and kind of have as much exposure as he could to give him a means to state that, hey, I'm a good guy, or I've got
mm,
connections here or there. But
I mean, really, that's kind
um,
of brilliant though, because a lot of times
and
people in those situations will protect
mm.
their own.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah,
But I
Mm,
do remember the whole thing came down to the smell under his house because the Nimrod buried all these men under his house. Of course, he didn't bury them that deep. He couldn't probably get that deep under the house,
mm,
but started stinking, and he started trying to do what he could. But he told everybody it was the sewer and this and that and everything, and even that
mm,
went a lot longer than you think it would have because with the stench, I can only imagine what 30 rotting bodies smell like coming out from under your house.
mm,
For I don't think I would
hmm
have believed it was a sewer for very long, and honestly, I mean the smell of that kind of it's a little bit different than sewage as well. So I'm surprised that that even lasted as long as it
mm,
did. But I still think it was a long time between when people started smelling it and when he actually got caught. Um,
mm.
so that right there is
yeah.
also kind of an interesting point about John Wayne Gacy. But the guy, I mean, he
I guess
Well,
it's
they.
because they trusted him.
yeah, yeah. I mean, on the surface, he seemed like he had a wife, he had kids, so he was kind of normal like that. I believe he was taking care of
Mm,
his mother at one point. Overall, he seemed like a normal guy. He was involved with local politics. He did work. He had a job. He was employing people. I just think finally too many people went missing, and that sort of was the red flag. But
yeah.
yeah, he was a character for sure.
Yeah.
So, Jen, why don't you go ahead and tell us about some of the other movies that you saw? Because I'm pretty sure you probably saw some
Oh,
that we wouldn't even discuss.
oh, yeah. I saw quite a few. Well, we mentioned All Hallows Eve. Um, I could talk about that, I guess. Um, that one's like almost more of like an anthology. Because it has like three or four like different stories. There's like the unifying one about like the
Mm-hmm.
babysitter. I really liked that part. I liked the babysitter part. But some of those stories in it, nah. One of them was like an alien, and it looked stupid, and they shouldn't have even done it. And then they only show like Art the Clown like for 1 second in that story. It's like it's like a portrait, a painting that somebody
Yeah, I
did,
remember that.
and I was like, what the hell? So that one
That's what they
was,
call an Easter egg,
eh,
Jen.
yeah, okay. Well, he's more involved in like some of the other stories in the anthology. Some are better than others. I did not care for the alien one. I thought that was stupid. Um, but yeah, uh, I liked the babysitter part. Um, and that's pretty much it. I liked the ending was okay. It wasn't a bad movie. I didn't think it was bad. But it wasn't one of my favorites.
Okay.
I can talk about some bad ones
Yeah,
though. I
lay it on
definitely have
us.
some
We
notes
definitely
on
want to hear about that.
some bad ones.
This will go in the non-recommended recommended section.
Have any of y'all heard of Killjoy?
Yes, I vaguely remember Killjoy.
I have.
Yeah. I watched the first Killjoy and I also watched the third one.
What happened in the second?
I had read somewhere that the second was pretty awful, and I had already seen the first one, and I was like, "Damn, if it's more awful than that one,
Well,
then
you
fuck."
probably didn't like the third one because you
So I
didn't
didn't.
understand it because you didn't watch the second one. The second one probably brought it all
I
together.
don't think so. Doubtful. Um, but I mean, there is some merit in the first Killjoy, I think, but it's definitely silly. And it's done in the year 2000, and you can tell. Um, I would think that other people would have like a nostalgic factor in watching that movie because it's so much of a 2000 kind of movie.
I remember
Um,
watching it probably about when
but
it
it does
came
give
out.
it a certain charm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
2000
think
doesn't seem that long ago to
it
me.
doesn't seem that long ago, yeah, to us.
I was thinking about that
Wow.
today, and not
Um, but it
not not to
was.
cut you off, but I was thinking about that today. I was looking at like some celebrity. Actually, I'm involved with the Sopranos page because I've been rewatching the Sopranos, and I have a Sopranos group or whatever on Facebook, and they put up a picture of some of the guys from Sopranos, and I was like, holy shit, those guys are really fucking old. And it's like, yeah, they might have
Yeah.
been kind of old when they did the show, but I mean, they look really old. And I hate that shit because honestly, it really just makes me feel like, so much time has passed. And 2000 doesn't seem long ago, but I mean, it's like a lifetime ago, really, when you think about it.
Yeah. I was 20 into the year 2000.
I was supposed
Showing
to
my
graduate in
age.
2001. So,
Yeah. But there is like a certain charm, I think, in like a nostalgic sort of way with that movie. Um, I would think that this movie would be best watched in like a group setting, like just a bunch of friends over watching it. I feel that way about a lot of these actually. Just to like make fun of it or reminisce, and be like, "Oh yeah, you remember when like that phrase was popular?" Because like in this movie, they say stuff like "that is
hmm.
whack." I really got a kick out of that, and it's Miller
Oh,
time.
Jesus.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I was like, "Wow, I haven't even like thought about those phrases in years." Um, but yeah,
With
like
Killjoy,
it was
he
entertaining,
was he was
kind
a
of.
doll, right? That was brought to
Yes,
life through
there
black
was a
magic.
ritual. Yep, there was a ritual. There was a guy, he's, like, kinda nerdy, and he gets bullied, and he has this crush, like, on this girl that is, like, the girlfriend of the leader of, like, a
Hmm.
gang. And this nerdy guy, he, like, does this ritual with, like, this doll called Killjoy, and becomes Killjoy. Yeah, and, you know what happens after that.
Kills a
A
lot of
lot a
joy.
lot of A lot of revenge killing and,
Hmm.
but it's funny though, it's, like, really, like, campy and, like, silly. I mean, I thought it had some merit though because, like, some of what stuff they did was kind of interesting. Like with the ice cream truck, that was kinda cool. You go into the ice cream truck and then all of a sudden you're, like, in his world, you know?
It's kind of
It's
like
like some sort of alley.
Sweet Tooth from Twisted Metal, a little bit, with the ice cream truck
Yeah.
and another clown, by the way.
I've got a question for
Mhm.
both of you guys. What do you think would happen if clowns came from outer space and they
It's
were
interesting
killer
that you say that.
clowns?
Oh, I love that movie. I actually really
Mhm.
like that movie.
It's interesting.
The clowns kinda scared me, but, the puppet, I remember there was, like, a shadow puppet, like, part of that movie, and that kinda freaked me out a little bit,
Hmm. When he
but
ate the shadow puppet ate the person.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, but I loved it. It creeped me out, but, like, I loved it.
Well,
And the
yeah. That's
popcorn.
the
Popcorn.
synopsis here kind of goes into a little bit of the silliness of it. So, the name says it all, really. Aliens, aka clowns, that look like bloated circus clowns land on Earth, set up a large circus tent structure, and terrorize the nearby town. The film is absolutely ridiculous in the best way, with clown related accessories bastardized to objects that kill or capture humans: cotton candy cocoons, bazookas that shoot
Mhm.
popcorn, a living balloon dog, shadow puppets, and a straw used to drink blood out of the townspeople are just a few of the outlandish things the clowns use. A legitimate cult classic.
It's a crazy straw. Crazy straw.
So that's definitely some of the things to look forward to if you haven't seen the movie. If you want to see bastardized accessories, you know, such as bazookas that shoot popcorn and straws that drink blood, then this is your movie.
Mm.
Continue.
Yeah, that
let me.
movie did it very well job a very good job of, using, like, the clown
Well,
paraphernalia.
So
It's
there's,
it's so
I mean,
campy.
everybody has heard of killer clowns from outer space. They might not have watched it or seen it, but they probably heard
Yeah.
about it if they're our age at least. Um, I looked into a couple, and obviously a lot of these clowns that we've been talking about are front stage, center stage of the movie too. They're the main characters. There was I don't know if you guys saw Krampus, the movie
Yeah.
Krampus, yeah.
Krampus.
Mhm.
So Wasn't there like a Jack in the Box
Yeah.
clown
Yep.
in
Yep.
that scene? Tell me about that if you can remember.
He yeah, he
Yeah.
was a gigantic. He ended up being a gigantic Jack in the Box clown who was trying to eat the children. There's a scene in the attic where he was trying to
Right.
eat the
Yep.
children, and I think he was a little more of kind of like the jester type clown, which I did have some notes that I took about the different kinds of clowns. But yeah, that was I mean, I enjoyed that the whole movie, the Krampus, and even that's not what we're talking
Mhm.
about. I'm sure we'll do a Christmas episode and talk about it more. But the Krampus was an incredible movie. I definitely recommend
Yes.
that you see that if you hadn't.
I agree. I liked that movie as well. The only thing I didn't like about that movie was one thing. I didn't like the stupid gingerbread man.
It was a
That
little
was dumb.
corny,
They should
yeah,
have cut they should have cut that. Everything else was gorgeous and perfect and great effects actually, and but that gingerbread man I think was CGI. It's stupid.
yeah. I mean, if
Took me out of it. I was like,
it's
that's dumb.
interesting because I do have the types of clowns here, and the white face clown. I thought this was really interesting, but according to a lot of things I read, the white face clown he has the highest position among other clowns. I'm not really sure what that means, but
The
I guess
highest
he is
position.
the clown. Like he is above the rodeo clown and the caring clowns and the tramp and the white and the mimes. Well, mimes are white face, but well, fuck mimes. I mean, I don't know. But it's interesting though because the clown is the umbrella that jesters and jokers and mimes fit under, which I really didn't think about until today. I was kind of thinking about how it's interesting that those all fit under that umbrella because I always thought of jesters and jokers kind of as their own thing. But yeah, it's all clowns. But yeah, continue, Jen. Sorry, that's
Oh, about
no.
Krampus?
Steven brought up Krampus. I was talking about
I
what
did.
were you were talking about bad movies, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have some notes on more bad movies. Killjoy 3, I don't have a lot of notes about that, but it does deviate some from the first one. Um, and it felt like I was watching the Joker and Harley Quinn. And it reminded me of a little bit of Power Rangers. Those kind of characters from that, except without the Power Rangers. Instead of it's just a group of like college age kids in a house with a enchanted satanic ritual type thing happening with a mirror. And they go into the mirror and they go into Killjoy's like palace or
Killjoy has a
whatever.
palace.
It's
Okay,
stupid,
that's pretty
kinda.
cool. If I was a clown, I'd have a
His
palace.
his mansion or
The
whatever it
Killjoy
is.
Mansion.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, that one's a little bit more sexual.
Okay.
Because the Harley Quinn type person, which I believe her name was Batty Boop, actually in that movie. But she is definitely like a Harley Quinn type, and Killjoy is basically a Joker type. They kind of have like almost like a romance kind of thing going on,
A
and
weird psychotic abusive
yeah,
love.
yep,
There you go.
exactly that. Yep. But yeah, later we can talk about Clownado.
Well, we are hitting our hour, so let's go ahead and talk about Clownado now.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Don't see it.
There you go. That says it all.
Wait, you mean this thing
No,
wasn't
there's
great?
more.
How was it not
No,
good?
no, it was so low budget, and everybody in the film did not do a good job acting except for like one dude, and that was the main clown guy. He actually did, I think, a very, very good job. He was the only redeeming factor of this movie. He actually kind of reminded me of Bruce Campbell
Oh.
a little bit. But yeah, this movie's like crazy. It starts off like old film noir from like the 50s, and then it goes into like a circus tent and does some stuff there. And then there's like this whole witch kind of person that like creates the clownado. And then now it's in modern times, but sort of, kind of. And now there's like this whole like hodgepodge of characters that are like trying to defeat like these clowns that are in the Clown NATO, which have hopped out of the Clown NATO. And it's just ridiculous. Like it's terrible. It's low budget and bad.
Was this a post Sharknado movie where they were just jumping on?
Clown NATO was done in 2018. I want to say that's after
Yeah,
Sharknado,
because they made
right?
like
Yeah,
4 or 5
Yeah.
Sharknadoes by now, and I
Yeah.
mhm.
don't know who watches those movies where they have the budget to keep making them.
I don't know how they have the money exactly. Well, I know we're running up against the clock here too, but I wanted to mention kind of an obscure movie that I've looked into. I've not seen, but I think I actually might watch just from the intrigue factor. Um, the movie is from '91. It's called Shakes the Clown, and the clown
Oh,
is named Binky.
Thank you.
yeah.
Uh,
Bobcat
so
Goldthwait?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the guy who's the actual clown is Tom Kenny, I think,
Oh.
who is actually, get ready for this, drum roll.
Uh,
Anybody know? SpongeBob SquarePants'
no
voice.
shit.
So
Oh,
he does the voice for SpongeBob
No shit.
SquarePants.
nice.
So
Bit of
in
trivia
that
there.
There you go. So in that movie, he's coked out and ends up killing somebody, I think unintentionally, with like a juggling pin, and it goes downhill from there. His psyche kind of splits and goes sideways a little bit. But uh, because I don't know much about the movie, that's all I'm going to speak on it. But it's one that I saw a few scenes in it that it seemed weird. It seemed a little bit eerie and kind of awkward, and something that I was going to give a shot.
I
So
think you should. You might as well give it a shot anyway, because why not? Um,
because it's not your typical slasher, cutting a woman in half with a hacksaw or shitting
Yeah.
in the bathroom type of clown. He doesn't look super scary, but he definitely looks like he's mentally twisted and kind of snapped at some point. So
Yeah. I
and
only
if he and
vaguely remember that.
if he acts it out well, then um, maybe
well, I
it's
mean,
worth a watch.
Bobcat,
So
you can't go
in the
wrong with
meantime,
him.
that's
Mm.
true.
So one more one that I wanted to mention actually, and I know we're pushing it, but if you like sort of the documentary style, comedy horror type thing, I'm not going to sit here and say this is a fantastic movie, but if you're really like, I want to watch a clown movie and I don't want it to be the worst piece of shit I've ever seen, Wrinkles the Clown. And the synopsis of this is following along. This one is complicated. Wrinkles the Clown is a documentary comedy horror film that almost defies classification at all. In 2015, a video loaded to YouTube goes viral, in which a creepy looking clown, Wrinkles, comes out from beneath a young girl's bed, scaring the heck out of her. More videos surface, and it's revealed shortly after that Wrinkles is a professional clown out of Florida, with his shtick being available for hire to scare children straight. The documentary, catches up with him in 2019, where he allows the crew to follow him. He's revealed to be an old homeless man who appears as Wrinkles for money. Shots of Wrinkles uh, are accompanied by interviews with psychologists, historians, and children from the videos and more. I did watch this one. I thought it was really interesting. It kind of goes into the premise, he kind of becomes this like local folklore type character where parents are like, if you don't go to bed, we're gonna call Wrinkles the Clown. He's gonna show up in the window and scare the shit out of the kids and that sort of thing. It's definitely not on the same page as Clown or It, but it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. So that's why I was sort of throwing it out there. It's probably a lot better than Clownado and Clown Hotel or Motel or whatever the fuck it was, and Killjoy. I mean, I'm sure it beats those. So,
Yeah.
feel free to check that out.
Clownstipation.
And that's not my recommendation, but to wrap this up here, unless you guys have anything else dire, to well,
I do have one thing I want to
do it.
mention because we've been talking about horror
Horror.
clowns. Do you guys remember MTV back in the day? Remember Yucko the clown?
I don't
Yeah.
remember you.
I vaguely
He
remember him.
he'd run around all these spring break places and just bash the
Oh
shit out of
yeah,
people.
yep.
Yeah, yeah.
He was
So yeah,
yeah, he would like roast people and shit.
anybody watching right now that wants to cleanse their palate with a non-horror clown, get on YouTube and watch some
Uh,
Yucko. He was a major
he
dickhead,
said he
but
said some
very
really
funny.
funny shit. He could roast the hell out of people. Now that I know what you're talking about, I do. I saw
Yep.
Mhm.
videos of him recently. They still are viral and go around occasionally because
Oh.
I
Really.
found him in some kind of feed I was looking at. So I mean, shit, if we got that much clown stuff to talk about, there may be a second episode about clowns at some point, but I am going to wrap it up because this one has been a little bit long, um, but a great conversation. So let's do the recommendation thing. We'll start with Jen.
All right. Well, I really liked Clown,
Nah, you
the movie
can't
we
do
were
that
talking
one.
about earlier, but I
That's
am
it's
not
off
going to do
limits.
that one. Okay. So I'm gonna recommend Stitches.
Okay.
I I didn't think it wasn't bad. It had some redeemable qualities. It's actually filmed in Ireland. And the guy that's the clown in it actually reminds me of the guy from
Okay.
Shameless, the UK version. The drunk
Hmm.
dad from Shameless in the UK version. Yeah, he really reminds me of him. He talks a lot like him. Um, but yeah, like that one was pretty good. It's a little on the silly side. It's definitely like a little campy, a little cartoonish in some at some points. But I thought the kills were like kind of
Hmm.
creative. It's almost in the same vein of Killer Clowns from Outer Space, but not quite as cartoonish. So yeah, I kind of
So
actually enjoyed
Stitches,
that
it's
one.
got redeemable qualities. Check that one out.
Yeah.
Steve, what you got, buddy?
I'm going to stick with Shakes the Clown.
Okay.
That's you guys give that a shot. Let me know what you
Shakes
think.
the Clown. I didn't even come across
Yeah.
that in my research. I'm going to. I actually think it's underrated, and a lot of people haven't seen it, and they probably should at least check it out. I'm not even sure if people know it exists or that Rob Zombie did it. A lot of people I talked to, but I'm going to go with the 31 because I do think it's worth a watch. It is pretty interesting, kind of a cool like clown slasher sort of thing. And Malcolm McDowell is always a winner. So
Mm,
that would be mine. It's probably
for sure.
31. So Stitches, Shakes, and 31. That's what we're going with. It has been awesome. I feel like we could talk about this, or at least I could, for another hours. But we're going to go ahead and end it, and maybe we'll hit it again later. So for now, I am going to go with my quote of the night, which is "You'll float down here. We all float down here." Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
See ya.